Living a life that is pleasing to God is the primary purpose of everyone's existence. But societal decadence has taken away our focus from this primary purpose. Today on the show, we will be talking about those necessary virtues that are needed to live a life pleasing to God. It's another wonderful episode of your favorite show, Catholic Faith Forum, with yours truly, Chima,
me,
and Friar Jay.
And today we'll be discussing the Cardinal Virtues. Stick with us. When we come back, we'll dive right into it. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show, guys. It still remains Catholic Faith Forum, where we discuss matters bordering on faith, morality, and popular culture. Today with myself, May, and Friar Jay, we're going to be talking about the cardinal virtues needed to live a life pleasing to God. So let's dive right into it. Guys, can you tell us what virtues are?
Okay, virtues, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, are habits or behavioral patterns that a person adopts, which helps them to do things the right way. So doing things the right way is virtue. So long as they come from your habit, they become a part of you. They have become a perfection or a pattern of behavior.
I like that explanation. It's actually very simple, very self-explanatory. So to be virtuous, it means you have to do things the right way.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Simple as that.
Okay, so why are they important in the life of a Christian? Before we even look at it being important in the life of a human being.
I think it's even the other way around. Okay, virtue is a human thing.
Okay.
Okay, it's a human thing. It's just that there is a way in which you practice the virtue that makes you Christian. Yeah, but virtue as a thing is the way a human being should ordinarily behave.
True.
Okay, so the virtue of humility, the virtue of gentleness, these are just the way we behave. The anomaly is to behave a way different from what you do, that is considered a vice. Okay, so the opposite of virtue is vice. The wrong way to do something is vice. Okay, some people tell you my vice is this. So they are basically indulging in certain behaviors that are not the normal way of doing things. Okay, so that's it. So for a Christian now, it is patterning yourself after those virtues that Christ himself has given us as an example. Okay, so they are listed in his life, in the gospel, and also in the writings of the apostles and all the writings that have followed as commentaries based on the gospel.
Because I think, to put it simply, emulating the characters of Christ.
Exactly, imitation of Christ.
Yes.
Imitating the life of Christ is the Christian way to live out virtues.
Talking about virtues being a human thing now.
Yes.
Some of these virtues, like you mentioned, are virtues that human beings should actually possess.
Exactly.
For example, regardless of your inclination to faith, you should be humble.
Yes.
You should be gentle.
Yes.
Christ also exhibited some of these things.
All of them. He's the perfect example of human being.
That's why I patterned the question initially to make it about Christians.
Yes.
Now, this question has arisen in my head, and I have to ask it to you people.
Okay.
Talking about human beings exhibiting virtues, does this make them Christian, even though they do not subscribe to being called Christians?
I think if we take a little step backward, it will help. When God created us, human beings, as we see in the accounts of Genesis, he made us in his image and likeness. So to live a life that is patterned on the original model of being created in the image and likeness of God is to be like God. Okay? And Christ is God. Okay, the second person of the Trinity. So to image our life on Christ, because after the fall, we fell out of virtue. As Romans 3:23 will tell us, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So in Christ, we are restored to that image of God which we possessed from the very beginning. Okay, such that when you live the kind of life that the virtues of Christ shows us to live, we're actually Christian. Okay, to live like Christ, who is the perfect example of what it means to be human, who was like us in all things except sin, you're actually Christian, even if you are not a practicing Christian. Yes.
Wow.
I think. Let me take it back a bit. Before the coming of Christ, we had good people
Yes.
who did not particularly know God or
Exactly.
know Christ,
Yes.
but they were good people.
Exactly.
So because they lived virtuous lives. So
Yes.
those people, you can say they were actually good people because they had certain virtues that were exemplary.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So, okay, let's look at the virtues now. There are, according to the teachings of the church, there are 4 cardinal virtues that are needed to live a life pleasing to God.
Yes.
And the first of them is prudence. Let's look at prudence.
Okay. So prudence as a virtue is the habit of doing things the proper way and at the right time. Okay, there's nothing better than doing things the right way and at the right time. Somebody would call that, some people in regular parlance would call it common sense. Okay, so to do what you are supposed to do at the right time. You may be studying, okay, but it's at a time when you are supposed to be sleeping. Okay, you are playing music, but it's at a time when you should be quiet. Okay, or you are being quiet when it's in a party, you're in a party. So that is a misplacement of values and misplacement of virtue. Okay? You should do things the right time. That's why the church will say, mourn when others are mourning, and be joyful when others are joyful. So that is from everything. That's
and
prudence.
knowing what time is for what and
Exactly.
doing it when you should.
Exactly.
It brings to mind a question that I've seen in popular social media spheres these days about doing the right things or doing things right.
Exactly.
So can you throw more light on that?
Doing the right thing, and I think those are 2 different things. Okay, doing the right thing is you know what is to be done. Okay, if at this moment this is the time to sleep, then you do that. Okay, doing things right is the quality of what you're doing. Okay, if you are a singer, you sing well. If you are a writer, you write well. That is doing that thing right. Okay, as different from doing it doing it the right way.
So is that prudence in itself as well?
It is. To some extent, it is, yes.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the vices that having the virtue of prudence helps us to tackle. Okay. So what are some of those vices?
I would say laziness.
Sloth. Yeah.
Yes, because when you are doing things the right way, you cannot be lazy.
Yeah.
You have to know when to do things, and you are doing them.
Yeah.
So you're actually doing something and not just leaving it to who knows when.
And I think for a Christian too, sloth is not just about the ability to do just regular day-to-day things. It's also a spiritual thing too. Yeah. You have people who tell you, I can't fast because I am not disposed to it. But the truth is that you can be disposed to anything if you allow God to move you, if you allow the grace of God to flow through you. That helps you to live a life of virtue, okay, so that you can do certain things that you ordinarily not disposed to, but now virtue helps you to now perfect it as you dispose yourself to doing it.
So you train yourself
exactly.
the right way to do the right things when you should.
And the truth is that virtue is actually a training, okay? You have to train yourself to do those things that ordinarily you may not be disposed to do. Okay.
Wonderful. Even those people that were not brought up that way can also learn to do the right thing when you should, because
that's why we go to school.
Yeah.
That is why we go to church. That's why we listen to homilies or reflections to learn. That's why we watch shows that are educative so that we're able to do things the right way.
All right, so hold that thought, guys. We'll be right back to continue our discussion after we take the voices from the street and see the opinions that people have to share with us. Don't go anywhere, our dear viewers. We'll be right back to continue talking about the cardinal virtues.
What are the 7 capital sins?
Pride, lust, anger, gluttony, sloth, and that's all I can remember.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. What are the 7 capital sins? Hey. Okay. Gluttony, anger, lasciviousness, pride, lust, being slothful. I'm sorry, I can't remember the last one. I think I've tried. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, 7 capital sins. We have pride, and we have greed, we have gluttony, we have sloth. Okay, so we have lust, we have anger. Okay, are they not 7?
No, they're not up to 7.
They're not up to 7. Oh, One more. Okay. Can I remember?
All right, if you can't remember. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the show. It was a very wonderful experience talking to people on the street, and there's a good knowledge out there about the virtues that people should have. Yeah. The only thing now is if they are practicing it, and that is why we are here to tell you how to practice those things. Let's get back to it. Now we are going to talk about another virtue, which is justice.
Very good. I think according to St. Thomas Aquinas, justice is the virtue of giving each person their due. Giving the due that belongs to God, giving the due that belongs to your neighbor, and giving the due that belongs to yourself. And I listed it in this way because many times we want to put ourselves first, which is not the Christian thing. The
So
Christian
God
thing
has
is
to
to
come
put
first.
God first, and then your neighbor
others,
second, and then yourself last. Okay, because you know how to take care of yourself. Don't worry, don't break your head about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you need to learn to go out of yourself, which is what the Christian thing is, being selfless. Okay, as opposed to being selfish. Okay, or self-centered.
Wonderful.
So that's justice, to give each person their due. The due that is due to God is worship. The due that is due to your neighbor is love, kindness, generosity. The due that is due to yourself is to take care of yourself. Okay, rest when you're supposed to, exercise when you're supposed to, eat when you're supposed to, pray when you're supposed to, and sleep when you ought to.
Well, this particular virtue in itself has like a very broad scope, but I don't know if we're going to be able to cover it all. But let's look at just one of those scopes, which is equity. Okay. Equity is almost the same, but a few elements taken out of the whole justice narrative. So can you sort of throw more light on that?
Okay, I wouldn't describe it as equity as much as I would say being able to put yourself in the other person's shoe, and then even when you wrong somebody, be able to take the steps that is needed to restore what was done. You know, there's a way in which people think of justice as, if I say sorry, that's it.
All.
And once I say sorry, is it? No. Justice goes beyond that. Justice is being able to say sorry and then saying, what can I do to make it up to you?
To make it better.
Exactly. What do I do? Okay, I have taken this away from you. I've done this to you. How do I go beyond just registering my apology, but also saying, placing you in a place that at least comes close to where you were.
More comfortable.
Exactly. Okay. So that is what justice
Yeah, I would
should
say being a just person means, okay, you can put yourself in another person's shoes and say, not, okay, how will I want to be treated?
Exactly.
How do I really feel I should be treated?
Yes.
Because if you treat people how you treat yourself and treat everything how you want to be treated, you become just. Because you don't want to be mistreated, you don't want to be wronged, you don't want to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. And I think they say one good turn deserves another. So
Definitely.
the way you treat somebody is also the way you will be treated. And rather than just focus on, oh, nobody's doing what they're expecting me to do, nobody's doing what they're asking me to do. Do your own part, play your own part. I saw someone placed a hashtag yesterday on social media and said, change starts with me. And that's that's how it should be.
Yes,
that's how it should be.
thing.
It starts with you, okay? Be just. And then other people would also look at you and emulate your
I cannot
virtue.
blame other people for not doing something when I haven't done my own
Exactly.
part. Do what is right, and then others will follow.
Beautiful. So now let's look at the sins that being a just person can help you, or the vices rather, that being a just person can help you curb. Okay. One of them is greed. How
Definitely.
does being a just person help you curb greed?
Greed will make you want to keep acquiring and
Acquiring
taking things that don't
yes.
belong to you or belong to everybody. But when you're just, you know that what is for this person should be for this person, what is for me should be for me.
Exactly.
So you will share everything, or you assign everything the way it should be, and not just start collecting everybody's.
Yeah, and then you know, people always associate greed with just money or material things. It could also be time. It could also be attention.
Yes.
You could just, oh, I don't want you to talk to any other person. Just talk to me.
Just me.
You know, a brother of mine shared an experience of somebody who gave him a phone and said, I'm giving you this phone so that you call only me.
Meaning what?
Please keep your
So,
phone.
so he said,
Hold
please,
the
thank
phone.
you. I have a phone. Thank you very much. When I have the time, I'll call you. Okay. So, but then there are people like that who just
Yes.
want to be manipulative, who want the whole of you. They just don't want you to, they want to share you or your time with
think that's
any other
also
person.
being
That is greed.
gluttonous.
That's gluttony. That's
Yeah.
greed too. Gluttony often is associated with food, eating.
It's
food.
not just food.
But then it's also
for all of
it's
them.
everything.
Everything.
So.
You're wanting too much.
Exactly.
Wanting everything to yourself. Trying to acquire the. In fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the implications of being a just person? The other virtues or other good traits that being a just person can help a person, be.
Yeah, justice would basically help you to look at situations more objectively rather than just how they affect you. Justice is basically about looking at things as they ought to be and doing them the way they should be done. That's basically what justice is.
I think it would also help you curb all your selfish desires.
Exactly.
So you no longer think of yourself alone or think, as you said, love your neighbor as yourself. So when you are just, you actually think of everybody as you.
Which means you become generous.
Of course.
And you become open-handed to people. You develop the virtue of generosity. Also, you could also develop the virtue of being more, open-handed, basically.
Liberality.
Liberality, yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's look at another virtue, which is the virtue of temperance.
Yeah. Temperance is closely associated with justice, but
Yes.
it's with regard to how I learn to use things properly. Time, possessions, persons, food and drink. How do I use them? Do I eat to live or do I live to eat? There are people who live to eat. They just eat and eat and eat and eat. You're telling them, they'll slow down. There'll be more to eat later. I want to eat now because the food is there. And that is not a very, very good thing. And it's also about doing things to an excess, basically doing things to an excess. Oh, I love football. Therefore, I must watch every single match that is on the EPL timetable.
Chima, I'm looking at you.
Oh my goodness. No, don't mind what we say, please.
Well, the truth is, many times we want to overindulge. So temperance helps us to curb our excesses, to say, I have gotten to my gauge. I have gotten to my limit. I should stop. It's the same thing, too, that applies to talking. Just want to open your mouth
There are a lot of people
and talk.
that talk and will never even allow you get a word in.
Exactly.
They will just keep talking and talking. You are tired, though, but they don't hear. They don't even allow you to say, okay, thank you.
All right, so looking at the vices that being someone with the virtue of temperance helps you curb, one of them is pride. I know that when people are proud, they always want to, show assert themselves wherever they are.
Yes.
So if you have temperance within you, it can help you, know your limits around people and in your environment.
I think someone made a very funny statement once, a comment, and said the first letter that becomes faulty either on your typewriter or your computer is the letter I.
Wow.
You keep saying I. So one way to be sure that you're not being proud or you're trying to curb your excesses is to watch the amount of I, me that you say in your sentences. I also me to learn to speak in terms of the other person, of how your actions affect the other person. And a little life tip too. When you write a letter, when you write an application for a job, learn to speak in terms of what you wish to do for the other person. People are selfish naturally without the virtues. Okay, so sometimes you can play to their own sentiment of wanting to see what you want to do for them, which also helps you to learn the virtue of being selfless, of being altruistic. Okay, which is a very good thing. When you are able to contribute your own quota to making something else grow, making something bigger than yourself thrive, that is also a very good thing. It's a virtue.
Okay, so let's also look at the vice of wrath. I know that temperance helps to curb wrath.
Exactly.
People are angry these days. People
Outbursts.
are very sensitive.
Yes.
There are a lot of outbursts on and offline.
Exactly.
A little statement, a little action can just make the whole world somersault on its...
I think you people have popularized the term savagery.
Yes.
So you talk about savagery now.
So being someone with the virtue of temperance helps you to be able to curb your anger and know when to have an outburst and all of that.
Exactly.
But still on this matter of anger, looking at the Bible, looking at our Bible, which is our guide for Christian life, a lot of our Christian figures, especially Jesus, showed traits or sometimes had outbursts.
Yes.
What do you have to say about that?
I'm glad you said he showed outbursts, not that he was angry, even though the scripture uses the word he was angry. I think anger is best expressed when somebody already knows you for not being an angry person. Okay, so that when you eventually show some sense of anger, it's a very serious situation. I had an experience in secondary school. One of our classmates, very, very gentle person. Nobody ever heard him raise his voice above a certain level. But then one day we were in class, it was break time, and next thing we heard was this thunderous slap.
Wow.
So we turned to see what had happened. And he was the one who slapped somebody.
Wow.
And rather than ask him what happened, we asked the other person, what did you do to him? Because it's not regular for him to be angry.
To do such a thing.
So that is the best time to show anger. When people don't expect, when people actually don't expect you to do that.
I can imagine the
Exactly.
With 5 fingers.
Exactly.
Imprinted
So
on the
it's
face.
important that one is able to keep themselves in check, so that when you now show anger, it is meaningful. People now say, yes, there is a lesson to be learned here. But when you give free rein to every feeling, people no longer take it seriously. They now take you for a joke, because you are not able to make your actions purposeful. One thing about anger is being purposeful, not just giving, because the attitude, the regular attitude is just to give free rein to your emotions, which is vice.
As you are feeling,
as
let
it
it
hot.
out.
I feel a lot of people, especially in Lagos, are unnecessarily angry. You wake up in the morning, you are angry.
We will never stop
you
talking
sit
about
at a
Lagos
traffic
people.
light,
Lagosians,
and
people
people
like-
are
you're one
honking
of
and
the
wonder
kind.
why someone is stopping and wonder why you are so angry. You
No,
don't
really.
wake up with so much anger in your heart.
Lagosians
It's
are
not
one of the
necessary.
kind. if virtue was, character is something to export, we export
Anger.
Lagos attitude.
So much rage, suppressed rage.
It's true.
All right, so implications of being a person of temperance include virtues like humility,
Yes.
which is somehow one of the biggest virtues that heaven requires.
Well, I think it was Thomas à Kempis who says that the only thing the devil cannot do is to be humble. That's the only thing he cannot imitate.
Wow.
Okay, so humility is the ground of every Christian life, to know that there is something to learn. There is still room for improvement. There is room for learning. There's room for getting better. And that's what virtues are about. Virtue is the habit, creating the habit, consistent pattern of behavior, consistent way of doing the right thing. And it becomes a part of you. Humility, once it becomes a part of you, you are now able to take corrections, you're able to learn, you're able to give room for improvement.
Yes, you don't have to show yourself every time. You know, they say there's always someone that knows more
Better
than
than
you,
you.
or
Yes.
is better than you, or has
Exactly.
something that you think you have more than you. So be humble.
Another one is chastity. When you have purity in your heart, of your body and everything.
Exactly. Chastity basically means being faithful to God in your particular state of life. If you're married, chastity means that you're faithful to your spouse. If you are a single person, chastity means preserving yourself until you're married. And if you're not married even, using your time, using your talent, using your gifts for the good of others. Okay? That is the way you express love. Okay? Chastity is expressing love faithfully according to your state in life.
Wonderful. Another one is gentleness, using your example of
Yes.
your friend who
Exactly.
gave a thunderous slap to someone out of provocation.
I am sure that young man kept his distance afterwards.
Obviously, he is someone of a gentle demeanor, and having temperance helps you have such a demeanor, being a gentle person.
Yeah.
And that when, like you said, when your anger is expressed, people get to know that this is not characteristic of you. So the last of the virtues needed to live a life pleasing to God is the virtue of fortitude.
Yes, and fortitude from its Latin root means courage or strength to do something which is right. And often we need courage to do what is right.
Yeah, just like, because a lot of people are actually afraid to do stuff. Everything is overwhelming. So with the virtue of fortitude, you can be able to push forward and live
also,
your life.
and sometimes too, it might even be the fact that you know what to do. You know the right thing to do. But because people often look at you and say, oh, you are doing too much, or you are only you holy pass, you now want to soft pedal or pull back a little bit. But sometimes that can even become a problem where you do no longer show any sense of purpose to say, this is who I am, this is part of who I am, and you cannot change me just because you don't like what I want to do. You find out that, funny enough, it's those who do vicious things who actually show some sense of fortitude. And those who do the right things sometimes feel a little bit, they feel like they have to watch their
cowards.
steps.
They're carrying on that.
Exactly.
Then
Yeah.
Carrying under the fact that there's persecution and they don't want to lose their
head,
their comfort or whatever.
But it's like somebody once said that if you speak, you die. If you don't speak, you die.
So just
So
speak.
talk.
So if you don't stand for anything, you fall for
You
nothing.
fall for nothing.
Wonderful.
You know,
You fall for anything.
Yes, it's true. You know, people also say when someone loses a loved one, they say, "May God give you the fortitude to bear the loss."
Exactly.
You know, it means because it's not an easy thing to lose a loved one. So when you have fortitude, it gives you strength to actually bear that loss and then know that you meet this person
Another time.
Another time.
Yeah. So that's always, I think that's important. Fortitude is important in every aspect of life, in good times, in bad times, in times of persecution, and in times of freedom. But often it's in times of persecution, in hard times, that fortitude actually comes to the fore.
True.
Okay, one is able to now exhibit a virtue that is above the regular or required. People expect you to fall to pieces when somebody dies. But when you show some sense of calmness, some sense of control, people now say, oh, he's mature about this thing, and that becomes a point to witness to other
Wonderful.
people.
So some of the implications of being someone with fortitude are you develop a kind of long suffering like that of Christ.
Exactly.
You can take on anything. You can take on the world. You can become a superman and a superwoman in your field.
And long suffering is a gift of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
It is something that God himself gives to those who ask of him. It's important that as Christians, we do our best to keep not to just explode at every slight provocation, but to live a life of courage, courageous life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the show with us. We've looked so much as possible, at the 4 virtues needed to live a life pleasing to God. Remember, at all times, your primary purpose on earth is to please God, regardless of your secondary purpose or your path in life. If you don't have virtue, you will not be pleasing to God. Any last words, May?
Just remember the 4 virtues: justice, prudence, fortitude, and temperance, and stick with them, and you will actually live a good life.
And really, the happy life is the life of virtue.
Yes, so
when you live the life of virtue, you'll be happy and you'll be fulfilled.
All right, until we come your way next time, I remain Chima.
And I'm May.
And I'm Friar Jay.
And also make sure you throw those questions you have at us to our social media platforms. We're always there to help you out with the answers and the resources to finding the answers. We are at CFF on TV across board, all social media platforms. And you can catch up with past episodes of the show on our YouTube channel at Dominican Media Presents. You can also you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel and keep up with the exciting content which we provide for you. Until we come your way next time, keep being saints
in jeans and shirts.